Welcome back, everyone. We are two dudes talking 80s. I am John. That's my pal Lewis.
Hello.
And we are going to do something a little different today. Obviously, we have a huge affinity for the 80s and all things 80s. But today we thought we'd look at some movies that were filmed after, 1990 and beyond, that were focused at least primarily or in the 80s. And I know we're going to have the same one probably as our number one choice because it's the movie with the greatest title of all time. So let's just talk about it. And that's going to be Hot Tub Time Machine. That came out in, wow, 2010. Seems like it came out more recently, but hey, we're old. So 2010 does sound kind of recent until I realized we're in 2021. But Hot Tub Time Machine, can't go wrong. They brought back one of the 80s icons in John Cusack, Clark Duke's in it, Rob Corddry, Craig Robinson, phenomenal cast. Chevy Chase has a cameo. What do you think about Hot Tub Time Machine, Lou?
It was an amazing flick. It was really nice to see Cusack back in action in something that to me, went back to his roots, right? Because I mean, he was an absolute icon in the 80s with this string of hits. So loved the movie. And I never actually saw the second one that didn't
No,
feature Cusack. Not that
no,
good, huh?
it sucks.
But the stellar movie. If you like the 80s, you gotta check that flick out. Very well done.
Yeah, it's good. Did you notice one of the things that they had? It's very vague. I think it was in the skiing scene, but you hear in the background somebody yell, "I want my $2." Yeah, a
Yes,
little
I did
nod
catch that.
to John Cusack's "Better Off Dead." And of course, we got to talk about the cameo. We had a cameo from William Zabka. He hadn't come back yet with the Cobra Kai series, so he still was really only known for the first Karate Kid movie. And he made a nice comeback and a little cameo in that. And what better 80s person to get back in a movie than William Zabka with the
I,
bet?
I didn't realize that he actually had a little cameo in there.
Yeah, remember the scene with the bet with Rob Corddry, where he asked so eloquently that if he wins the bet, the dude's wife would give him a blowjob,
Yes,
a classy
yes,
one.
yes,
That was
yes,
William
yes.
Zabka.
Very cool. Now that you mentioned it, I think actually you brought that to my attention originally because I wouldn't have caught that, but
Yeah.
I do remember that now.
And if you haven't seen the movie for a while and you're a Marvel nerd like I am, Blaine, the protagonist or the villain in this movie, is played by none other than Sebastian Stan, who went on to Marvel success as Bucky Barnes, also known as the Winter Soldier. And I totally forgot that he was in the movie. I watched it the other day and I'm like, oh my God, there's the Winter Soldier. So one more thing to be looking out for. Chevy Chase, you got Crispin Glover in there, the father from, Back to the Future, loses his arm. Oops, spoiler alert. A little late, but hey, you haven't seen it now. It came out in 2010. My God, get with it. And of course, we can't forget the phenomenal music to end the movie. And I'm sure you were really into that.
I honestly don't remember, man. I own the movie.
Is it
It's
in
maybe
cellophane?
no, this one is not in cellophane.
Rob
But
Corddry's character joined a famous 80s hair metal band.
oh gosh, I vaguely remember that. I really need to watch that again.
And it has your name in it. Motley Lou. Come on now.
Oh
How,
man,
how could you miss these gems?
I'm
So
telling you.
anyway, obviously I've seen it a little bit more recently than Lewis has, but if you haven't seen it, even though we spoiled half the movie for you already, you'll still get a lot of laughs out. Check it out. What do you got for us, Lewis?
All right, I'm gonna go with one that goes back and actually sort of recaps it's how should I say? It's based on a true story. It's based on a band that used to pay homage to Judas Priest, and so it's about this singer that he sounded a lot like Rob Halford from Judas Priest, and he eventually wound up replacing Rob Halford in Judas Priest. Um, and became their singer for a while. Although the movie doesn't call out that it's Judas Priest, but it's pretty much that story. The movie I'm talking about is Rockstar with Rob Halford. Is oh God, my God, not Rob Halford. I'm
Mark
sorry,
Wahlberg.
that dude. Yes,
Rob
yes, that
Halford,
dude.
I don't believe was in the movie, but hey, maybe.
No, he wasn't. I think some other rock stars made cameos in it, but again, that's been one that I
Well,
haven't
Zach
seen.
Wilde was in it. Zach Wilde and Jeff Pilson from Dokken was in it as part of the band, Mark Wahlberg's band, which was Steel Dragon.
Yes, yes, and Jeff Scott Soto actually sang some tunes on there as well. I actually got the soundtrack because I enjoyed the music so much. You know, it was just new 80s music, but it wasn't the 80s anymore. But anyway, really good flick if you like hair metal. And I mean, if you like hair metal at all, definitely pick that movie up. Wahlberg does a really, really good job of playing the character. And again, it just reeks with all kinds of 80s references and visuals. And it's pretty cool.
It is a good movie. I was kind of disappointed they didn't stick more to the Judas Priest story because I thought it was great. And you also had something, that kind of became a trend because, you think about it later on, Journey would get Arnel Pineda from YouTube videos in Boston, got their replacement for Brad Delp, seeing him sing karaoke and doing a Boston song. So it actually became kind of a trend for some of these bands that don't have their original singers to use other mediums that we didn't have back then to find new singers. But great choice. I haven't seen that one in a bit either. But once again, I remember it better than you. And actually was not even on my list. So we're going to go to another 80s icon. And this was probably one of my favorite movies. And that's the came out in 2004, also based on a true story, but this is sports related, and this is Miracle with Kurt Russell. So Kurt Russell plays the famed hockey coach Herb Brooks, and this is the true story about the Miracle on Ice and the 1980 U.S. men's Olympic hockey team going and playing Russia for the in the Olympics and actually defeating Russia, which at that time, if you knew hockey, Russia was viewed as completely unbeatable. Nobody could beat them, and the U.S. team beat them in what I consider, honestly, probably the greatest upset of all time in sports history. Like I think they had played the NHL All Stars and just crushed them. I forgot the score, but they had crushed the NHL All Stars. The Russian team did. And, they were supposed to be soldiers, but they were really, all they did was train in hockey. So getting Kurt Russell back, you had a bunch of, fresh faces playing the hockey players. Just an excellent movie, a great retelling. A lot of it took place in the late 70s, but of course, the most important part of it was when the U.S. beat the Russians, and that did take place in 1980. So that would be my one of my choices for one of the best, movies set in the 80s, and that would be Miracle.
That is a really, really great pick. I'm not sure that I am even aware of that movie, so I'll have to go check it out. You actually have a picture that's autographed by all of them, don't you? With the famous scene where the after the goal.
I do. Well, I hope it's real, but I did purchase it. We're signed by all the players, and it's one of my most valued possessions. Unfortunately, Herb Brooks passed away before the movie even came out. They just started filming, I believe, and so he died right before that in a car crash. But I do have that.
Sad.
And like I said, it's still something that I view as like the greatest David versus Goliath story in the history of sports. And it's one of those movies. I see a little background actor there behind you. Um, Apollo's making an appearance, and but still one of the absolute best movies, sports movies. Probably my favorite sports movie of all time. Is that saying something?
I'll definitely have to check that out. That sounds really good.
I recommend it. What you
So
got for me?
my next one is going off of music. It is about a stockbroker that sort of rose to riches, and very entertaining movie called Wolf on Wall Street. and that primarily takes place in the 80s. There's a scene in there where he's like all hocked up on drugs and stuff, and he's rich at this point, and he's in his well, as he's telling the story, he's saying, well, I could barely move. I was so like, hopped up on drugs. So I got into my Lamborghini and I drove, and by some miracle of God, I made it home and didn't get a scratch on it. And it shows him waking up the next day after he's down from his high, and he looks out at his Lamborghini, and it's all just total, all completely busted up and stuff. Great movie. It's got all kinds of really, really interesting scenes in it, and very entertaining. I highly recommend that one as well.
The Wolf of Wall Street. I've never seen it. I don't really. I don't know. Something about Leonardo DiCaprio. Something about him. I just don't really like to watch his movies for whatever reason. He's not one of my favorites, and I've had a friend of mine had an interaction with him that was less than stellar. I'll just leave it at that. So
Oh,
also kind of soured me on ever wanting to see his movies. So yeah, but maybe I'll check it out one of these days when I'm feeling more generous. But I've heard great things about it. I'd like to see it. Maybe they can just redo it and replace him. So my next pick, I don't know if you've seen this movie. This movie came out in 2009, set in the 80s, and another one of those. It's kind of a comedy, but kind of a drama, a little bit of both. And that movie's called Adventureland, and that stars Jesse Eisenberg, Kristen Stewart, and Ryan Reynolds is in it. Really good movie. Basically, this Jesse Eisenberg's character finds out that his parents basically he had some money issues, and he no longer has a college fund. So he's trying to get money to go to college, and he takes a summer job at this park, an amusement park, and it was very 80s. Thing I liked about it is, usually when you see 80s movies that they overdo it, like, everyone's wearing, everyone's got the huge hair, and everyone's got the parachute pants and all that stuff, and everything's really played up to the hilt. And this was probably more of an accurate description of what we kind of grew up on, where it was just jeans and t-shirts, and that's what we wore. And but a really good movie. If you want to play a great drinking game, anytime Kristen Stewart's character pulls her hair back, or take a drink, you will be loaded by the end of it. It gets a little distracting. It's like, oh my God, can she stop doing that with her hair? And they actually have Expose on the soundtrack. So shout out to Expose, who I love, and you never hear them, but so they get played on the soundtrack. And yeah, really good movie. Recommend it. It's not it's not hilarious funny, but it's funny enough, and it's got a little bit of drama to it, and highly recommend it.
very cool. Very cool. Yeah, I've heard of that movie, but I've never actually seen it or knew anything about it. But I do remember hearing the title.
Gotcha. Well, check it out. If I'll send it to you, and you can have it in cellophane for 20 years.
All right. On that note, I'll go on to my next movie, and this one's sort of a rockumentary. It's called The Dirt, and it revolves around the life and times of Motley Crue. So this came out, I want to say, maybe a couple of years ago. Of course, with our gauge of time, here I go with my hands again. With the gauge of time, it could have been more than that, but it feels like it came out maybe a couple of years ago, and it's pretty
That's
much
accurate.
yeah. But yeah, then you had mentioned the other one was only like what? Well, never mind. Anyway, but it talks about Motley Crue and how they sort of rose to fame and their whole story and whatnot. And again, it's if you're into the 80s hair metal stuff, which I absolutely am, it's a great flick to see. It makes lots of cool references, and I think it does overplay on the fashion, but I dig that. I actually like that. So very enjoyable movie. If you like Motley Crue, check it out if you haven't already.
Well, I mean, I think you said overplay it. I think Motley Crue, that was a big part of who they were, was that imagery. So I think that was appropriate for that time. If you're focusing on Motley Crue, I enjoyed it. I thought it was like a lot of these biopics, they kind of downplayed, some of the stuff that they did, and they, a lot of history condensed into a 2 hour movie or whatever the length was. Interesting story that I heard today, and I had never heard this before. Bob Daisley, who was in Blizzard of Oz with Ozzy Osbourne in the early years of the Ozzy Osbourne group with Randy Rhoads, talked about when Ozzy was touring with Motley Crue. Mick Mars was on Ozzy's bus, and Bob Daisley ended up on Motley Crue's bus. And Motley Crue was talking to Bob Daisley about firing Mick Mars. And the rumor is that they want to get Jakey Lee to replace him.
Oh, wow.
And Bob Daisley said, "Look, I don't know if you can, even care about my opinion, whatever." But he goes, "What you have works, and you can't, you don't want to mess up that chemistry." And so, yeah, they never did replace Mick Mars. I thought it would have been a huge mistake. I can't imagine Jakey Lee and Motley Crue, or whoever they would have gotten. But yeah, I had never heard that before. So that was a little interesting tidbit I read today.
Yeah, I hadn't heard of that either. That would have been really interesting because Jakey Lee, I mean, no disrespect to Mick Mars, but Jakey Lee's a pretty damn awesome guitar player. I wonder how long he would have stayed with the band if that was actually the case, because you're right, I don't see them as being a good fit.
Yeah, I don't either. But getting back to the dirt, yeah, it does capture the era real well. I like how they omit some things, like the other manager and stuff like that. And the guy that played Ozzy Osbourne did a fantastic job in that. A little too convincing, to be honest. But we'll move on. Yeah, definitely check it out if you're into it. Um, all right, let's see, what else do I got. So this is another one that's really not that well known. This one came out, I want to say, in 2011. Apparently, they had made the movie. It sat on the shelf for a long time. Finally came out in 2011, and not many people liked it, but I love it. So, and that movie is called "Take Me Home Tonight." Um, which is a really fun movie. Anna Faris is in it, Chris Pratt, the kid from that '70s show, and I, can't Topher Grace, Dan Fogler, and yeah, that was a really good tribute to the '80s. Again, they kind of played up the '80s parts of it a little bit, much, but really fun movie. Definitely recommend it. I think it's on Netflix now, or if it's not, it'll be back on Netflix in a month. It seems like it's always on there. Really good movie, a lot of fun, and definitely worth your time.
Very cool. Very cool.
You haven't seen it?
I have not seen it.
I recommend it. You need to check that one out. So, amazingly enough, with all the songs that they have on the soundtrack, "Take Me Home Tonight," for whatever reason, did not appear on the soundtrack. So I don't know if that was an issue with Eddie Money or what, or if it was in regards to money, as it so often is. But that's, they have a lot of great songs on that soundtrack, and that was not one of them. But yeah, check it out. You got any? What's your last one? What you got for me?
Okay, I got one more. It's again sort of cheating because it's a documentary actually, and I've seen bits and pieces of it. And again, if you're a fan of heavy metal and were doing that back in the day, you've got to check out the movie Heavy Metal Parking Lot. And it is what it's exactly what it sounds like it is. People videoing before concerts, people hanging out in the parking lot, and some of it's like cringingly stupid. It's like, really, did people really act like that?
Yes, they did.
And they absolutely did. I knew a few people that did, but I seriously did cringe at a few parts of it. But it also
The
will bring
girl
you.
wanting to jump Rob Halford's bones.
Man, but yeah, definitely check it out. It's very entertaining, and it'll make you remember a few things that you probably forgot about those days. And yeah, the sort of the pre-parties before actually going into the concert.
Nice, yeah. That's actually a good pick, and it's one I did have on my list, and the next one I'm on mention, my final one. I'm so shocked that you did not come up with this one. I figured for sure you'd have it, so I didn't talk about it. The Wedding Singer,
Ah,
Adam
yes.
Sandler.
Oh my gosh,
It's still
yes.
my favorite Adam Sandler movie, which isn't saying that much, but it's in my opinion, it's his best movie ever. Came out in 1998. I remember seeing the ads for it. I'm like, yes. In 1998, I was fully ready for some 80s nostalgia and anything I can get my hands on. So going to see him and see, Drew Barrymore and see the performances there of The Wedding Singer, good old Robbie Hart. I was actually watching it earlier today. And that's, a great movie. They do a lot of, again, it's a comedy, so I guess the over the top 80s references work really well, with all temperature cheer, all that stuff, the Dunkin' Donuts guy and all those classics, interspersed into the movie. So yeah, that would be another one I highly recommend. I think it, fits in any era. You get a Billy Idol cameo, and yeah, that would be my final choice for a movie made later on that was based in the 80s. And I thought for the most part they nailed it.
That's
Please
an
tell me
excellent
you've seen
pick.
that one.
I have seen that one. I absolutely have, and that's an excellent pick. Yeah, I remember the scene. I can't remember the name of the actress, and I think that she's passed away. But it's the older lady in the movie where she's sitting there looking at the couple and going, "Yeah, you guys are gonna make it, just like Lonnie and Bert," and she's going through all of these people that have since gotten divorced that were like married in the 80s. Like, yeah, you're gonna make it. It's lots and lots of great lines, lots of great scenes in that movie. Yeah, definitely a great pick. And yeah, I'm kicking myself in the butt for not having picked that one.
And of course, probably my favorite scene is the granny rapping. She nailed it.
She did. She absolutely did.
Yeah, well, all right. Well, this is a lot of fun, brother. Thank you for doing this as always. You had some great picks, some stuff I'm about to check out, and hopefully I gave you some stuff to check out as well. But
Absolutely.
next time we get back, we'll definitely get back to some more 80s. If you guys are watching this at home, please leave in the comments anything we might have missed. I still have a few on my list that we could have talked about, but for time and clarity, we'll keep it a little short this week. But let us know what we missed. Keep it in the comments. Thank you as always for watching it. And Lou, take us out.
Peace.
Thank you.